this guy was just like, this is not what we should be teaching our women. We should be teaching them modesty. There are thousands of missing and murdered Native women. Like, how is this helpful? This isn't a positive role model. So I like internalized that, and at first I was like, oh my God, like I don't want to offend, you know. But then I got mad.
Put your hands together. Lulu, let Duchesse go.
My body is not yours to tell me what to do. I'm tired as an Indigenous woman. The only time I get to hear about my sexuality is in reference to being raped or murdered. My name is Lauren Ashley Giles. I am half Black and half Mohawk. I am from the Mohawk Reservation of Ganawage, and I am a burlesque dancer. I decided very early on that I wanted my career as a platform to increase Indigenous visibility in the arts, and specifically in burlesque.
You stole her land, she's gonna steal your heart. Welcome to the stage, Lulu, La Duchesse, Rière!
My tagline is quite aggressive. It's intentionally aggressive. Culturally, women are raised to be more modest. It's definitely reactionary to colonialism, to the thousands of missing and murdered women across the country and throughout North America. It's like we're taught to kind of protect ourselves and cover our bodies, which I think needs to change. You know, that's not healthy. That's not healthy growing up with that and like hearing that like throughout your like womanhood, like cover up because you might get raped or murdered. And that's a reality. I'm trying to like reclaim sexuality for people that maybe are not necessarily ready to do that or can do that. It's often like the women that I speak with are like coming from places of trauma, you know? It's like really heavy. My mother was in the US military and she was a tank mechanic, and she met my father in Kansas. They got married. I was born shortly after. I remember moving back to Canada after the Oka Crisis in 1991. The Oka Crisis was a standoff that happened over the course of a summer on the reserve. Some private investors were trying to build a golf course on Indigenous burial ground. Then the government sent the military. This thing turned into a crazy standoff. The neighboring communities cut off Indigenous people. They had signs on their doors like, no shirt, no service, no Indians. This is something you would hear about like in the 50s, in the South. You know, this is Montreal, this is Quebec, this is the 90s. This was our generation. I've come across many people that don't feel comfortable identifying as First Nations, either because their lineage is cut from their tribe or their, you know, their community, which again is like a huge issue with colonialism. I decided that I wanted to do an act that kind of tackled identity and like my identity. And that was like in response to a lot of things. I wanted to do this act that was like made for Indigenous women. So like I dance in this robe and then I take it off and I have these braids that go down to the floor. It's really like, there's not a lot of tease in it. It's like an aggressively sexual dance. And like as women, we keep our hair long because women are connected to the earth, and that has to do with the creation story. It's kind of the message of this act. In troubled times, ground yourself, protect yourself, and don't apologize for like who you are. It's gonna be great. I'm like super stoked. It's gonna be really fun.
Mon nom à moi, c'est de Foxy Lexi. Ici, on est au Bain Mathieu pour ma première grosse production de la reprise des balles burlesques à Montréal. C'est la plus grosse production de burlesque en Amérique du Nord. Donc, je suis vraiment extrêmement fière et surexcitée.
De toutes celles que j'ai rencontrées, Loulou est la seule de Première Nation performer.
So it's a really big deal that we're starting to have like more female-produced shows, and like female woman of color who's also a boss-ass bitch and a mom. Like, I'm sorry, there's like. So I'm really happy that you asked me to do that song, because I never got to do the straps with that song.
I know that.
And it works so well. I haven't done this version of this act kind of ever. Every other time I performed it, I haven't been able to do the straps. So this is like how I've always wanted the act to be. Literally, I think the whole segment that I'm doing is like 45 seconds, but just doing that over and over for an hour is really exhausting. You just have to have faith that your body is gonna do what it knows what to do in the moment, which it does. It's gonna be awesome.
Okay, you late night lovers, how we doing? Is everyone ready for some entertainment?
Get this fixed, and when my
Okay.
lashes fixed, I'm on it.
But Lexi, how much time do we have? Why don't I have a fleet of gorgeous men to dress me? Didn't you guys get my writer?
This ain't Vegas. Just performing as a person of color has its challenges. Burlesque is a vanity-based industry. In one hand, it preaches empowerment and body positivity and acceptance and all this stuff, but it is still working the circuit, working in clubs, going on tour, working in festivals. When you get to corporate events that actually will pay your bills and stuff like that, you are like thrown through the scope of what is the standard of beauty. And the standard of beauty is still white, is still thin, no tattoo, virginal, like there's like this aesthetic.
Lexi, I'm gonna make you love me. Yes, I will.
It's a no panty night?
No penny night.
No bra,
No bra, no panty.
Like I kind of like this. I love it, yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna wear like a huge fucking coat.
Yeah.
J'ai volontairement pris des artistes qui venaient de différentes cultures, qui avaient un différent look. C'est parce que, comme je disais, moi, en ayant l'opportunité de pouvoir produire, je voulais vraiment mettre ma saveur, mettre sur scène ce que j'aurais voulu voir. Je pense que c'est quelque chose qui manque un peu. Fait que moi, je vais le faire. Moi, je vais leur donner une plateforme.
There she is! All right, guys, listen up, listen up, listen up! This was my dream. And I'm a woman, and I'm a black woman. And thank you so much.
I often say like, yeah, I'm just a stripper. Like I just take my clothes off on stage, but it's so much more than that. So like I've been like aggressively invading white spaces. It's like a very sexy form of protest. It's cool for these women to see like an Indigenous figure in burlesque that's doing well. I love that, and that gives me energy to keep doing it, and like I don't want to stop. I want more. I want an army of like Indigenous burlesque dancers. So yeah, get out there, take off your clothes. Don't apologize for who you are, ever.